part. You could say taking one step towards doing our percentage, our effort, is to have the correct intention. So we may have come with friends or family or for different reasons as well, but if we have the intention that we are here for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure, we are here for Allah, we are here for attaining Jannah, we are here for Allah, to be with Him in Jannah. If we have this intention, that's when we will really benefit. So the first adab and etiquettes of such gatherings is to rectify one's intention. With that as well, there are such other etiquettes where we get distracted in life. That's what the dunya is. The dunya, the lowest part, the thing that's really low that distracts you from Allah. So many people may get distracted by mobile phones. So we should all take them out of our pockets. I need to double check. And put them on silent, actually. Or turn them off so that you don't get distracted. So others don't get distracted. Similarly, to really benefit from such events and gatherings, be present in this moment. How? Don't think about what's happened up until this moment. Whatever's happened before you entered, before we sit, that's it. Forget it. And what's going to happen after the gathering as well, don't think about it. Rather think about here, now, a gathering of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And just like that, when our Ustadh Shabbir Hassan speaks, he's speaking to me directly. He's not speaking to the person on the right or left or somebody else. It's me. I need to hear those words. If the Quran is recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking directly to me. If hadith or anything related to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life is mentioned, speaking to me directly. Really what we then do is we are in a receiving mode. You see, in a receiving mode. To the extent that if the Ustad mentions something we've heard before, we should remind ourselves at that point, we've never heard this. We don't know. Because who knows? We may see a totally different angle from it. So inshallah, to help us really come into the moment and focus and be present here, we will have Quran recited and then a nasheed will be played, and thereafter inshallah our Ustad will come to the stage and advise ourselves. So if I can request our brother, Honorable Brother Hassan, to recite some Quran inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ صدق الله العظيم.
فداك مدامعي شوقا فداك قصائدي حبا فداك تلهفي دوما لوجهك يا رسول الله أفكر منذ مبعثك فقد أحببت أمتك وقد أديت واجبك بصدق يا رسول الله فداك مدامعي شوقا فداك قصائدي حبا فداك تلهفي دوما لوجهك يا رسول الله بعثت ترسخ الإيمان فكنت محمد الإنسان بكل شمائل الإحسان فحبا يا رسول الله بعثت ترسخ الإيمان فكنت محمد الإنسان بكل شمائل الإحسان فحبا يا رسول الله ولدت لتشرق الأرجاء دعوت بحكمة ودها فأي قصائد الفصحاء بقدرك يا رسول الله لقد أوذيت فاستحملت وقد واصلت ما استسلمت وقد لاقيت ما لاقيت وقد كنت صفي الله لقد أوذيت فاستحملت وقد واصلت ما استسلمت وقد لاقيت ما لاقيت وقد كنت صفي الله فداك مدامعي شوقا فداك قصائدي حبا فداك تلهفي دوما لوجهك يا رسول الله فليتي كنت كنت في زمنك صحابيا على نهجك فشوقي دائما نحوك تداعى يا رسول الله فليتي كنت في زمنك صحابيا على نهجك فشوقي دائما نحوك تداعى يا رسول الله أتيت تعمر الإسلام تبدد بالهدى الأوهام فكنت النور بعد ظلام حبيبي يا رسول الله سأروي دائما حبي وأحكي ما حوى قلبي من الأشواق يا ربي لرؤياه نبي الله سأروي دائما حبي وأحكي ما حوى قلبي من الأشواق يا ربي لرؤياه نبي الله فداك مدامعي شوقا فداك قصائدي حبا فداك تلهفي دوما لوجهك يا رسول الله أفكر منذ مبعثك فقد أحببت أمتك وقد أديت واجبك بصدق يا رسول الله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. All praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has given us opportunity to learn about what pleases Him and what displeases Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired us to come here today and inshallah we'll learn things that we can change our lives for the better. So peace and salutations upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the companions and upon the pious and the righteous. So we have the same Quran and Hadith as the companions had. But we are not benefiting like them. Why is this the case? Rather, some of the companions, they only spent very less time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also, they didn't have that much of the Quran at that time. Not like the way we have the whole Quran compiled and we can get as many copies as we want. But in that day and age, there were parts of Quran revealed at certain times. So they didn't get the opportunity, some of them didn't get the opportunity because they passed away or got martyred, they fought in the battle. But one thing is that nobody can compare to their companions, to the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. So nobody can compare to them in every aspect of your worship, your piety, you cannot compare to them. So this also shows that in today's day and age, the work is done more upon transferring knowledge. So through media, television, books. So there's so much knowledge out there, but the lives are still not changing. So wherever you go, you open up your phone and you want to look at Bukhari Sharif or open up the Quran app. Everything is there for you. At the tip of your fingertips, but the lives are still not changing. The fundamental mistake is that they thought that if we pass on knowledge of what to do and what not to do, the right and the wrong, then people will act upon it. So they thought that, okay, if we give this knowledge to the people, then automatically this is what you need to do and this is what you don't need to do. This is what will make Allah happy and this is what will displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that knowledge has been given already. And everybody knows this, what is right and what is wrong. But the action isn't there. Why? So one of the reasons is that we have come for entertainment. So we are taking the Quran and the Seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as entertainment, like many people do nowadays. So what does entertainment mean? It means that, for example, you watch a movie. So you're watching a movie, you're enjoying that movie, and you watched it again. Oh, that was a good movie, I want to watch it again. So a few months later, you say to your friend, oh, I watched a really good movie, let's watch it together. So they watch it again. Then the third time, somebody says, oh, can we watch that movie? I said, no, I've seen it before. I've seen it, I don't want to watch it again, I'm bored. If I watch it again, I'm going to get bored. And this is called entertainment. Unfortunately, many Muslims amongst us, including myself as well, I'm not portraying myself to be pious and righteous, myself as well, or treating the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as entertainment. Never once in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, or never once in the life of the companions of Rasulullah ﷺ, they said that, I've heard these teachings of the Prophet ﷺ before. No matter how many times they heard the hadith, they never said, I've heard it before, I've heard it before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the same verse of the Quran. In the Quran, you can see that there's certain verses of the Quran, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this 100 times, 50 times, and 30 times. The Prophet ﷺ never said to Jibreel, oh Jibreel, I've already heard of this verse. Are you repeating to me the same verse? He never said that. So the attitude we have is that we are taking the deen as entertainment. I have heard this lecture again. But we do that, don't we? When somebody says to you, oh, do you want to listen to this lecture? Or, oh, I've heard it all, I know it all. I've read this book again. I've heard this story again. Then this means we have come for the wrong reason. And we are right in saying this, because we've come for entertainment, and entertainment needs new episodes. You want to hear new things all the time. We always want new things. Oh, is he going to do a new beyond today? I want to listen to something that I've not heard before. Isn't that the case though? And then when you've already heard what the person has talked about before, then you switch off. The switch in your mind switches on, I've heard this before. So the deen, what is the deen? It doesn't provide entertainment, but it fulfills the need of the person for guidance. So if you're looking for guidance, that's what the deen is for. If you're looking for entertainment, it should be somewhere else. So your mindset, our mindset needs to change in regards to this. So enter the mindset that you will manifest the guidance practically into your lives. The guidance of the body, mind and the heart. That whatever you learn now, you're going to say, okay, you know what? When I leave from here, I'm going to practice this. And that is what the deen is about. It's not about attaining knowledge. It's about how much knowledge you will put into practice. How much will you put into practice? So we're going to mention things, in today's discourses. We're going to mention a couple of things. And I really want you to really pay attention and take this away, like a takeaway. Take this away and bring it into your lives and practice. And this is how you judge yourself. Whenever you listen to a speech, how much of that speech have you put into practice? And that's when you judge yourself, and then you know that, okay, you know what, I have really benefited from this speech. I've really benefited from it. So Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b radiallahu ta'ala, who was one of the greatest scholars and the reciters of the Quran. And the Prophet would go to him and say, "Oh, Ubay Ka'b, recite the Quran for me. Recite the Quran." And then he would say, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran came upon you. Do you still want me to recite to you?" He says, "Yes." "Please recite." And then he would recite to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This means that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though they were praying the Quran by themselves, they would like to listen to others as well. But first of all, we can't even practice, we can't even pick up the Quran ourselves. And when it comes to somebody else praying, we don't want to do that. We don't want to listen to anybody. We can't pray ourselves and we don't want to listen to anybody. It's like there's a blockage in our mind and blockage in our ears that we don't want to do this. When somebody tells you gives you an invitation to come to the masjid, again, boom. So what is the reason why are we here today? Because generally what happens is when it comes to weddings and somebody gives you an invite, you attend. So coming into the masjid, there must be a reason why you have come here. What's your intention? What is behind? What is going through in your mind, in your heart? Have you come because there's a function going on after the event? Or have you really come for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you want to learn something today and you're going to take it away and you're going to practice? And repetition, we find repetition hard. For people like Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala, the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, finished the Quran in 2 cycles of Nawafil prayer within the night. Imagine that. The whole Quran in 2 cycles of prayer. And Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala, he finished the Quran 61 times in the month of Ramadan with understanding and concentration. This doesn't mean that they were doing it for the sake of numbers or for the sake of entertainment. They were doing it to receive the guidance, hidayah. So each part, each verse, they were looking at each verse of the Quran and they were taking lessons from this. What is Allah saying to me in this ayat of the Quran? What is Allah actually saying to me? And then they would take lessons from this and then they would put it into practice. And that's why you saw in their life the guidance practically. When you hear the stories of Hazrat Osman radiallahu anhu, Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa, if you open his seerah book and you read about his character, then you'll see, wow, this is amazing character he had. Now you can see it because they're putting what they have learned into practice. So it shows in their speech and in their behavior. It shows everything. So the moment when we praying our salah, when we praying the Quran and nothing is changing in our lives, then we have to ask the question, what have we understood from the deen of Islam? What have we learned from it? How much of it are we really putting into practice? Or we just here for entertainment, what's the next story, what's the next beyond. Or we going like, back in the day when I was young, I used to be one of them as well. I used to go around, when's the next gathering taking place? Who's the sheikh coming? Let me go here, let me go. So we're going all around the country, going to different gatherings. But not really taking anything from it. Just like enjoying, being in the company of the sheikh. And, just listening to the talk and then having that brownie point that, oh yeah, I've been to this gathering, I've been to this talk. And then you buy loads of books from here, books from there, and then you have like shelves and shelves are full of books. And so many different versions of the Quran, but it's just on the shelf gathering dust. And people like me, they understand, they're probably doing the same thing as me. But we need to change. Once you learn, okay, I know that this is wrong and I need to start. Even one part of guidance that you have learned from one speech, at least take that one thing away with you today and practice that. And then when you come to the next gathering, take away the next point and practice on that. So you don't have to practice all of the points all at once. So, there are 10 verses of Surah Mu'mineen. Because now we're going to talk about motivation. And the Prophet ﷺ said, these 10 verses have been revealed upon me. So whoever will act upon them will go into paradise in Jannah. Surah Mu'minun. So the surah is the 23rd surah of the Quran and has 118 verses altogether. So if you act upon the 10 which Rasulullah ﷺ mentioned, then you can enter into Jannah. Now the question is, what are the other 108 verses for? So if it's 118 verses, 10 you practice, what is the 108 verses for? So the 108 verses are for reminding, encouraging, developing the love and the passion and the fear in the people. So Allah subhanahu has put it there so you get these things. So you're constantly reminding yourself, encouraging the love and the fear of Allah comes into this as well. To give them motivation. Like everything needs nutrition. So for example, if your body feels tired and if you're not it needs food. It needs food to give it that energy. So at the same way, motivation needs energy as well. For somebody to be motivated, there has to be a source of energy from somewhere for him to be motivated. So if your body does not get the nourishment, you'll feel weak. Like we do in the month of Ramadan, we're always feeling weak, especially the first few days. And then our body sort of gets used to not being hungry in the sense, but having the food at different times of the day. For example, out of Ramadan, we probably eat 2 meals and probably a breakfast. And then in the month of Ramadan, we're fasting, but our meal times have changed because when it's the time of breaking fast, we probably eat more than what we do on our normal days. And when it's Sari time, again, what we do is we eat so much, or I have to make sure that, I have to fill up my body, the storage in my body, like the camels do. That we need to store food and drink so that, throughout the day, we're not going to be hungry. So same way, motivation needs energy, needs food. So motivation is to willingly do good deeds. So nobody's forcing you, you are willingly, you're doing good deeds. And willingly, you're abstaining from bad deeds. And you have that passion that to get up at the time of tahajjud. Or get up at the Fajr time. So you're getting up at Fajr time. The thirst and the want. So what is the nutrition for motivation? So is it just knowledge? you said that, okay, if you have certain knowledge or whatever, then you get motivated. But no, that's not the case. Because we already know what to do. We already know what is right. We already know what is wrong. We already know the path. We already know that our destination we want to go is Jannah. And how to do this is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we already know these things. But we know this, but we don't have the power to carry it out. We know it, but we don't have the power. We are becoming lazy in doing this. I don't feel like praying. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like going to the gathering. Because our motivational nutrition has died down. So knowing these two things, knowing your destination, that okay, Jannah is my destination and the pleasure of Allah, is not enough. So where will you get the motivation from? So these are very, very important points. So if ever you're feeling down and demotivated, this is what you need to do to bring your motivation. Just because you can't see what's happening in the hereafter, like you can't see paradise, you can't see hellfire, you can't see the grave, what's happening in the grave. So we tend to look at this world as the real world, the reality. We wake up in the morning, we think that if you don't have any money and we're struggling financially, we think that this is our life forever now until death. We think that this life, everything, our status, the society that we live in, everything, this is it. There's no getting out of this. Somebody who has mental illness, they think that, oh, there's mental illness until my death and I'm never ever going to see happiness ever again. Somebody who's in depression, they think the same. What you have to realize is that this world is not real. The real world is waiting for you in the hereafter. Paradise is waiting for you where you have no illnesses, where everybody will be king or queen. They'll be rich. Money is not an issue. You don't need much money in paradise. Health is not an issue. You're going to be healthy. You're going to be beautiful. So people trying to make themselves look beautiful, they use makeup to make themselves look beautiful. You don't need makeup in paradise. So the word itself, makeup, you're making up your face because you're not happy with it. But in paradise, it's not like that. Everything there is waiting for you. So why are you wasting your time in this world and sacrificing your hereafter? Sacrificing your houses. Today we go past a house in an affluent area, we think, wow, I wish I had that house. We look at a fancy car, an expensive car, we think, oh, I wish I had. You have something even better than that. You have your faith. You look at celebrities, oh, I wish I was a celebrity. I wish I was a football player. You get paid, what was it, £500,000 or a couple of £100,000 just to kick a ball around. I wish I had that money. I wish I had that name and fame. But that person who has all of this, he might not have faith, iman. And you have that faith, that iman, that Allah's blessed you with it. What is the greater blessing than this that you have? Allah's given you this. You haven't done anything. You brought up into a Muslim household. You had Muslim parents. They've given you so much. Ask them people who have reverted, to Islam, and in their hearts they were searching for something, searching for a way, searching for peace. So they go through many emotions. They go through looking for the right peace in their hearts, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. And same happened to the companions, especially a particular companion, Hazrat Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala. He went to so many different institutions and organizing. He was like a monk at one time, he was a Christian at another time, and he studied for years and years within each organization. So he was there. So again, but we've got it free and we don't value something which is free. That's our problem. So know the reality of this dunya. Constant reminders of the stories of the prophets alayhi salam. So read about the Prophet, read about Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, read about Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam and their followers. Read about the prophets, how they become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what sacrifices they made. Attending, reciting and listening to the majalis like this, the majalis of zikr. Continuous, persistent and consistency on whatever you do. So if you picked up one act, so if you picked up one deed that you're going to perform, make sure you don't let go of that deed. No matter how small the deed is, just continuously be persistent on this. The remember of death. Death cuts everything off. Continuously, not just going to the graveyard. Go to the graveyard on your own. Don't go with friends, family. Just go on your own and just walk around the graves and just reflect that one day I'm going to be there. 100% guaranteed that we're all going to be there. There is no shadow of doubt with any religion. Even you ask the non-believers and atheists, are you going to die? He's going to say, yeah, I'm going to die. Everybody has to die. So now you got to think in reality that if it was my turn to go in this world, if I had a week left, if I had a month left, or if I had 6 months left, how would I change my life? How would I change? What would I change right now? Then change it. Change whatever is in your life that you would not want to die with. Change it today. Change it. Think, okay, I don't want to die with certain things. I don't want to die with, having debts on my head. I don't want to die with, certain broken relationships. So change it now. Because the Prophet ﷺ, that when the morsel of food would reach their stomach, they would think that they would die, meaning that they would think about death in such a way, in such a deep reflection. We just say death and that's it. We don't really reflect on death. So the reflection of death is really important. And that will cut everything off. Your addiction to everything, death is which will cut it off. If you really reflected on death, then that would happen. So, reminder of paradise. What I've just reminded. When I mentioned about paradise, didn't you feel happy and said, "Oh, this is what's waiting for us in paradise"? So, you know that. Don't worry about this world, because something is waiting for you. So people are already there. People are in the world of the spirits, people are in this dunya, and people are in the grave. And the day of judgment and the hellfire. Read about the day of judgment, what's going to happen. Or listen to a lecture on the day of judgment. What is actually going to happen on the day of judgment? And what will happen to me? If I was there on the day of judgment, what will happen to me? And read about the hellfire, the punishment of the hellfire. So this will bring you back to reality, reset mode. That in reality, why were you here in this world? So reading and listening to the lifestyle of the pious and how their life ended. So reading about the awliyas, looking, how they became successful, and then bring that into your life. And reading of the lifestyle of the rebellious people and their end. Look what happened, like in the month you're talking about, is it Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu? What Yazid, what's going to happen to him? Fir'aun, and other rebellious people. Abu Jahl, and so forth. So think, how do you want your life to end? Do you want your life to end the same way of the pious and righteous, or do you want your life to end in a rebellious way? So on the day of judgment, you're going to be in either one of the groups. The groups of the pious and the righteous, or the groups of the people who did things against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in summary, don't come to listen for entertainment. Act upon what you hear And motivation is energy. So I've mentioned the source of energy, and it's on that. If you look at the mountain diagram on top there, it's at the bottom. It's written at the bottom there for motivational needs. So the next part, inshallah, I want to talk about the things that obstruct the closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when a person wants to reach Allah's closeness, there's certain actions that person does that makes his journey quicker. And certain action he does that makes his journey longer. Maybe just for one reason a person is blocked for years and years. They're trying again and again and again, but they're not achieving the closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because there's certain things that they are doing. So something is a barrier between this person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah we'll try to cover some points before we finish. So number one is many people are doing worship, they're doing the amals and they're working hard, but there is corruption or wrong thoughts in their belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or about the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in regards to their major belief, so one should try and refresh this, and go back to the basic beliefs of Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah and study about about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what is Tawheed, what is Shirk and what is Bid'ah, what is love and what is disrespect. So we should learn the basics. If you already don't know the basics of Aqidah, then you should learn this. What is the quality of Allah and what is the status of the Prophet ﷺ? And in regards to the companions, the awliya, the salihin, this world and the akhirah. So this can be a barrier. So if this isn't corrected, what happens is like a fridge. So everything is connected, but there's one fuse which is missing from the fridge. So this needs to be corrected. So this is lesson number one for us. What we need to do. So in regards to wudu, ghusl, how to perform the ghusl correctly. One time our blessed teacher mentioned that, on the Day of Judgment there'll be people that'll come, they would have done umrah, hajjis, and they would have performed everything. But they'll be thrown into the hellfire. And the reason for that was he didn't correct his ghusl, the major ritual bath that the person takes after impurities. So he didn't correct that, and because of this, none of his worship was counted. So none of his prayers was counted, none of his umrah, because he was in a state of impurity. And because of that, even on that day, it's just no hisab or kitab, just gone straight into the hellfire. So we need to rectify this ourselves. There's some people maybe 50, 60 years old, and they've still not rectified that. And then it'll be a very, very difficult situation for them at the time of death and the hereafter. So, for example, in regards to how we do our earnings, the money that we earn, is it absolutely halal? Is there some doubt or is there some haram in it? So we need to, do this. We need to really see whether we are earning halal money or not. Because these are the foundations in reaching the closeness to Allah. The foundations are not correct, then how will you reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So, for example, a will. The Prophet ﷺ says, it does not befit a Muslim, a believer, that 2 days pass and he has not made a will. So the angels are writing sin for nothing, because you may have a lot of properties, money and assets, and if you happen to die, this will cause friction within the family members. They would fight over this and they would break relations. So the companions would not sleep until they had their will by their side. because they heard the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How many times do we hear the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and think, we act upon it, or we just use it as entertainment? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, don't do this thing or do this thing. How many times we say, oh, quickly we just act upon it straight away? So in the will, it's holding the rights of others. So this person might distribute this wrongly. So if he passes away, then the other people around him might distribute this wrongly. They might distribute it according to the law of the land and not the law of Islam. So they will be responsible and sinful because of this, because they didn't have that compulsory knowledge that they were supposed to have. So number 2 is breaking ties with creation. The beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when they mentioned about, the high-ranking friends of Allah. So they mentioned, Rasulullah mentioned that they don't achieve that status by excessive worship or excessive fast. Not because we do read in the books of the awliyas that they used to fast a lot and they used to do a lot of worship. But it's not because of that they reach that high-ranking status. But they mention their hearts are clean and they don't hate anyone and want goodness for everyone. So they had good character. So many people try to have a good relationship with Allah, but they are breaking ties with the creation. So when they're breaking ties with the creation, what happens is they're not able to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of this. Sometimes in our lives we come across certain situations. I invited him to my wedding, he didn't come. I wanted a lift off him, but he didn't give me a lift. So sometimes, you can never make everybody happy, because, say for example, he's given this person a lift 50 times, and then one time he says no, he'll forget about the 50 times. He'll always think about that one time that he didn't give me a lift that time. In his mind, he's just going to think of that one time that he's not given a lift, and then because of that one instance, he'll break that relationship with the person. So think, are we okay with everybody? Our aunts, our aunties, our neighbors, are we okay with everybody? If not, and if it's for a petty reason, then mend your relationship. Be humble and say sorry, and this will make Allah happy. Because dealing with the creation, you're actually dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's indirectly done behind the veil. So you're actually dealing with the creation, is dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the next point is the qaza prayers. That now, for example, when somebody changes their life, they start praying and everything. That's fine, but then there's obligations that they have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they're still not given back. Like the qaza prayers, the qaza fast, the qaza zakat, that you've not given back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you need to give this back. Otherwise, Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabagh rahimahullah mentions that even if you come to the Mazar Sharif, you won't benefit, because you're doing a nawafil act and you're giving up what is compulsory. The compulsory actions that you should be doing, you're not doing, but you're doing the optional acts of worship. So, and other people's barrier is tawbah. They've not done tawbah in the correct manner. For example, their time is better now and they've forgotten everything in the past that they did. They think that they are clean, or I'm practicing now and this and that. But what about the things that you left? And there's 4 conditions of tawbah that the person has to do. And if you want to learn about what these 4 conditions are, there'll be brothers who will be sat behind afterwards and they'll teach you about this as well. What is real tawbah? What is the tawbah that Allah mentions, that when all of your bad deeds that you have done, so imagine you've done 50 years of bad deeds, how do you turn them into good deeds? The 50 years of bad deeds, or 30 or 20 years of bad deeds that you have done, how do you convert them into good deeds? This can be taught afterwards as well, the 4 conditions, the past baggage. So the past baggage is stopping the person in reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one should reflect and think, is there anything in my life in the past? So I've borrowed money, I've defrauded somebody, I've done this, I've done whatever you have done. If you've done it against the person or the people, then you need to give them things back. Because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentions, if a servant comes one step closer to me, I will come 10 steps closer to him. But Allah is true to His promise. It's us. When you say, oh, I'm trying to reach Allah, but I can't reach Allah, it's us, we're doing something wrong. Because Allah has made it clear. So another point is bad behavior. People's bad behavior with the creation of Allah. The mashaykhs have mentioned that you see people with robes of piety and the cloaks of Sufis, but when you deal with them, it's like dealing with the child of shaitan. So a person will have these robes, wearing, the Amama Sharif, the turban, the righteous clothes and everything. In public, they are pious and righteous, and then afterwards, when you deal with them, when you speak to them, and when there's a bit of a conflict, then you'll see them, they turn like into devilish characters. They become like shaitan. So their behavior with their relatives, their husbands and their wives will affect his closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So people will do wrong things. I mean, that's to be expected. But here the point they're making is that people with robes of it. So for example, you portraying yourself as somebody who's righteous, somebody who's giving dawah to people, somebody who's calling them towards the deen, towards Islam, telling them goodness, and then when they deal with you, you become like shaitan. And you see this all the time. You go to, I've got a problem at home, or they go to somebody who they think is pious. It's a jinnat issue, blah, blah, blah. Okay, give me £100, I'll sort it out for you. Then he gives £100 or so. You need to get a candle and wake up 3 in the morning and go around your house doing the tawaf of your house, and then that jinn will go away. And then you have to give me another £100. So this happens all the time. People have given thousands and thousands of pounds to these fake people. And what here is mentioned is that if you're going to dress in the way of pious people, then act like the pious people as well. So don't have the robes of piety, and then when it comes to dealing with you, you become like the shaitan. When there's a conflict, that's when you know the reality of the person. It's not, so for example, Assalamu alaikum, dear brother, the moment he says something that he dislikes about you, that's the moment you see the reality comes out of that person. You said this to me, you besharam, don't you know who I am? And stuff like this. So here he's mentioning about this, that you have to be, your behavior will affect your closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So behavior with your neighbors, your family members, especially with your family members. Sometimes we're good to our friends, but as soon as we go home, we're somebody else. We're somebody else. They say, what's going on here? Sometimes you get married to somebody, and then the first 6 months of your marriage is all really nice and hunky-dory, and then 6 months to a year later, then he says, oh my days, what have I married here? He's behaving like the shaitan, or she's behaving like the shaitan. Because now they know about each other, because now they've spent time with each other. When you spend time with somebody on a journey, then you know the reality of the person. So the next point is opposing the sunnah of the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So opposing sunnah means going against the sunnah of the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If a person does this, it prolongs his journey. And the way to quicken your journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is following the sunnah as much as you can. Read about sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sunnah about the character. How did they behave with people? How were they generous? How were they kind? How were they with our mothers? How were they with the companions? How did they do business dealings? So all of these things that the moment you pick up a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, they're like jewels. Jewels, you're collecting jewels, sunnah like jewels of the Prophet ﷺ. And one other point is the lustful gazes. So another barrier is looking at the opposite gender in a lustful manner. So it's been mentioned that when a person stays awake, even worship all night, and he attains a lot of nur, a lot of light comes into this way because of zikr, tahajjud and salah. And during the day, when he leaves his glances free, he's not protecting himself, what happens is he looks here, there, everywhere, and he gives a few glances, lustful glances to the opposite gender. What happens is he goes back to square one. So all of that worship that he's done throughout the night, that light he's carried, it disappears. All that nur disappears because of that lustful gaze. So that gaze can come through anything, not just physically. It can be through internet or social media, or even flicking through Facebook, and suddenly, you know that something's going to come up. You know that watching movies, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, some things that your eyes are going to look at something. You know this. So what happens is, again, so he's doing all of that worship and thinks I'm reaching Allah. Oh, I've done so much worship, 8 hours of worship at night. And again, all that nur, he's just lost it in a couple of gazes, lustful gazes of the opposite gender. So it can be men to women or women to men as well. It can be any. So they destroyed the nur of worship because of this. So protect your eyes, and then you will see the sweetness of Iman, the taste of that Iman, and that motivation that you're craving for, to be motivated to do good deeds. You will see that as well. Another last point, inshallah, before I finish, is quick results. That when somebody changes, they want that quick result. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why is this not happening to me? Well, this thinking like this, that, oh, why am I not becoming pious? Or, oh, I'm praying my 5 times prayer. Okay, when did you change your life? Oh, yeah, it was only a few weeks ago. And he wants to become the great wali of Allah, the ghost of his time. So this on its own, think about this. Why is this? Oh, this is not happening to me. I'm trying my best. So this will stop the person in trying to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you had spent that time doing what you're supposed to do, then you would have attained that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person should not worry about what he's doing. So for him, he just carries out the action. He shouldn't worry what's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He leaves that with Allah. He shouldn't worry about these things. So from his point, you do the action, leave the results with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our job is just to put the effort in. So these were some of the points that I mentioned. May Allah forgive me for any mistakes I made, and may Allah, first of all, let me act upon what I've said first, and then may Allah grant you all the blessings to act upon it as well. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah khair, Ustadh Shabbir Hassan. As our Ustadh mentioned, knowledge is something to learn and then act upon. The question is, how do we act upon it? What do we need to do? So alhamdulillah, in this center we have a program of self-development which is completely free. You come, you sit. As our Ustadh was mentioning, there would be 1 or 2 brothers here, Brother Hamad and Brother Zain. And they will go through step by step what you need to do, what you can do, how you can actually act upon the knowledge. Step by step to achieve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure and closeness, to control those lustful gazes, to actually follow the sunnah. So inshallah, you can approach them. And just another announcement, but one thing that was also mentioned is there will be things that are obstacles. So for those who have started this journey, the mentors are here. If it's been a while, speak to them. Take the time out. And for those who do start this journey, you are also given the option of having a mentor. there is a open day for Seek to Change. Now, Seek to Change is an organization for new Muslims. If anybody has any friends or they know of people in the area of Newcastle, there is an open day taking place on the 10th of August at 3 p.m. in Newcastle Central Mosque, Masjid Bilal. There is a keynote speaker who is a revert herself. She will also be attending. So this is also something to look forward to. And now, inshallah, we will go into the gathering of zikr. So if I can request brothers to stand up, let some blood flow through your body. And just whilst they are preparing for the zikr gathering, I will again ask you to stay into the mindset, to remember and refresh why you are here. You are here for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. And as the actual zikr, whenever yourselves are ready, inshallah, please take seats. As the zikr is taking place, again, our Ustadh Shabbir Hassan, they will go through reciting the words and we should follow their tone. And as you all know, inshallah, if you take your seats, inshallah, jazakallah. Okay, inshallah, please, come forward because there is other brothers at the back. And as many of you may know, this is also a gathering of Akikah of our brother Hamid's niece. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them and their family more and more. So inshallah, if any of you are hungry, we will have food later. Don't worry about that or think about that. Inshallah, come back into the presence of Allah. Allah is with me, Allah is seeing me, Allah is hearing me. And as our Ustad is reciting, we should follow their tone. If they go quiet, continue. And really connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really connect and know that He's listening. He is with us. He is watching us. He is listening to us.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل حول من الأهوال مقتحم.
فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. لا إله إلا الله، 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 لا إله 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 إلا الله،
أستغفر الله
الذي لا إله إلا هو
الذي لا إله إلا هو
الحي القيوم
الحي القيوم
وأتوب إليه
وأتوب إليه
أستغفر الله
أستغفر الله
الذي لا إله إلا هو
الذي لا إله إلا هو
الحي القيوم
الحي القيوم
وأتوب إليه
وأتوب إليه
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, I request Imam Muhammad to hold and make the dua, please.
سبحان ربي العلي الأعلى الوهاب. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. يا رب العالمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. يا رب العالمين, accept from us this gathering of dhikr and durood and nasiha, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless all those who participated today, Ya Rabbil Alameen, them and their families, Ya Rabbil Alameen, their extended families, all of their friends, Ya Rabbil Alameen, by virtue of this majlis, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Protect us all from the hellfire, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and elevate our station, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, guide us and guide through us and make us a means of guidance. Ya Rabbil Alameen, reward all the brothers and sisters who have facilitated this gathering, Ya Rabbil Alameen. All those involved in the khidmah, Ya Rabbil Alameen, be it in cooking, be it in cleaning, Ya Rabbil Alameen, be it in sound, be it in the video, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Even somebody who moved a shoe, Ya Rabbil Alameen, for your sake, Ya Rabbil Alameen, reward them and elevate their station, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, you are Shakur, you are the truly grateful, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and only you can reward, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, we seek no praise and we seek no validation and we seek no thanks or gratitude from the people, but we seek from you, Ya Rabbil Alameen, your praise and your gratitude and your validation, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, free us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, from the shackles of the shaitan and the shackles and enslavement to the nafs, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Purify our bodies, Ya Rabbil Alameen, from sin. Purify our eyes and purify our ears and our tongue and our stomachs and our hands and private parts and feet, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Purify our minds from evil thoughts, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Purify our heart, Ya Rabbil Alameen, from from evil qualities and purify our nafs, Ya Rabbil Alameen, from evil desires. Ya Rabbil Alameen, you have created us for you and for you alone, Ya Rabbil Alameen. So make us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, of those who live for you and for you alone, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless, Ya Rabbil Alameen, our Ustadh Shabbir who delivered today's nasiha, Ya Rabbil Alameen, in place of your blessed friends, Sayyiduna Ahmed Dabbagh, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless all those who are in the khidmah of deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, use us and do not replace us. Ya Rabbil Alameen, you can replace us with a better people, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, please, Ya Rabbil Alameen, use us in the service of your religion, Ya Rabb, and do not make us obsolete, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and replaceable. Everyone is replaceable, Ya Rabbil Alameen, except your Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So please, Ya Rabbil Alameen, use us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, in the honor of serving your deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, forgive our parents and forgive our uncles and aunties and grandparents and all of our families, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless our homes and protect our homes from shaitan, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and from evil eye, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Protect our homes and our children, Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Forgive all the deceased Muslims, Ya Rabbil Alameen, those whom we know of and those whom we have forgotten of, Ya Rabbil Alameen. But you forget no one, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Forgive our mashayikh and bless them, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and elevate their station, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. All those, Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen, those who have come today, Ya Rabbil Alameen, seeking a change in their life. Those who have come with diseases of the heart, Ya Rabbil Alameen, sickness, Ya Rabbil Alameen, spiritual sickness, grant them shifa, Ya Rabbil Alameen. All those with physical sickness, Ya Rabbil Alameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen, please give them shifa, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Our sister's aqiqah, who is today, Ya Rabbil Alameen, the aqiqah is being conducted for one of the daughters of our respected brothers and a niece of one of our brothers, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, elevate her and make her, Ya Rabbil Alameen, from the righteous maidens, Ya Rabbil Alameen, servants of your religion. Bless her parents, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Protect her from the evil eye, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Protect her from the shaitan, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless her parents for facilitating this aqiqah and providing and feeding your creation, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, feed them in the banquet of Jannah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, with the prophets and the salihin and the shuhada, wa hasuna ulaika rafiqa. Ya Rabbil Alameen, forgive our parents, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, Allahumma Ya Rabbi, bijahi Sayyidina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. اللهم يا ربي بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيننا وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة في الدنيا قبل الآخرة في الدنيا قبل الآخرة وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وقرة أعيننا محمد النبي الأمي الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.